All right, peace, Cow family. Welcome to another episode of the Remembering Osir Study Group broadcast live every Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm here in great company with the Abat of the illustrious Ningsu tribe. We're going to get back into chapter 2. So I'm going to hand it over to our Chief Priest of Ningsu, Uncle Nu, to open in proper form. That's it for Uncle Jasonet.
All right, Uncle Jasonet. Peace, life, prosperity, and health, family. All right, this is Brother Uncle Nu in Ningsu. Ham Neter to P in Ningsu. And here once again, doing the Knowledge Radio to go into this offering, of our ancestors. And it's an honor to be here once again with the Abat, with the family, ready to get it in. But before we do that, we want to first and foremost start things off in the right order, in keeping in line with our ancestors by paying homage and saluting rank to our illustrious ancestors. So we want to say Necharatingita Amutniter Keparuem Nunet Keparuem Ra Rayet Keparuem Suit of Nut Keparuem Wataru Keparuem Pesajunasaru Nebu. Salutation of power, Father Mother Mater, who comes as, who manifests as Nunet Ra Rayet Yeshu Tufnut Heteru, and all the forces of nature. Keparuem Nut and Gab, Keparuem Osir, Keparuem Herubehudet, Keparuem Sutesh, Keparuem Oset, Keparuem Nephet, Keparuem Ampu, Duan Mabawat, Keparuem Heru Sa, Oset Sa, Oser, Keparuem Tahuti, Duan Maduter, Keparuem Subek, Duan Mimu, Keparuem Pesaju Netaru, Nebu Garet, Pesaju Netaru, Nebu Neches. Salutation of power, Father Mother Mater, who comes forth as, who manifests as Nudin Geb, Osir, Herubehudet, Sutes, Oset, Nephet. Thank you, open up the way. Heru, son of Oset and Osir. Tahuti, Dwa, Neb Maduniter. Sebek, Dwa, and Imu. And to all the forces of nature, the great forces of nature, the small forces of nature. Nesarating Yatamuniter, Keparuem, Osir Kintiaminti, Jerti, Indu Hat, Batu, Worship, Su, Yaku, Hesiu. Salutation of power, Father Mother, who manifests as Osir, foremost chief amongst the Westerners, the legendary ones, the ancient ones, those of yore, those from before, those at the head, the praised ones, the honorable ones, the venerable ones, to our ancestors. The Sharatin Yatamu Nater Keparuem, Damed Pin, Hininsu, Damed. Salutation of power, Father Mother, who manifests as this collective, Hininsu, and to the collective of African people worldwide, I salute your ancestors. That said, let's get this thing started. Duanater.
All right. We could go down the panel now that we open in proper form, and if anybody wants to give a brief opening statement, we can do that, and then we can proceed on.
Well, like I said, nobody's going to say anything. I'll go ahead on and open up briefly. And once again, this is our weekly discussion, analysis of the book Remembering Osir. So this is you know, a great opportunity to, you know, for Abat, you know, Hinisu family, as well as, you know, the Africans that are tuning in to get a understanding, you know, more in-depth and correct understanding and accurate understanding of, you know, the Kemetic spiritual tradition, Nile Valley spiritual tradition, the ancient tradition of our ancestors that was practiced in the Nile Valley, practiced in Kemet, practiced in Nubia. Okay, and is that great ancestral archetype, you know, as far as African traditions go, and you know, opportunity to, you know, to get a lot of insight. So, you know, dua for tuning in, and definitely tuning in via YouTube. If you have any questions, given point in time, feel free to leave those you know, those questions in the, you know, in the chat, you know, going on. We're taking questions from the from those that are out there. So
All right. So, did anybody want to share a research question, or did anybody want to speak on anything that stuck out during their readings in the chapter before we, you know, get into it? Anybody? Anybody in the building? All right. I'm gonna get it started then. If we look at the third paragraph on page 32, it speaks about Heru coming to that age of 14. It says, when Heru turned 14, the day came that he finally needed to know. After seeing a young boy playing a game of Senet with his father and having such a good time, Heru ran to his mother and asked her the question. He came into the house and found Osir braiding Nephet's hair. I have to ask you something, Heru said. Can it wait, Heru? Nephet asked. If I have to sit here any longer, I'm going to cry. That's how we know we was dealing with some black folk right there. You know what I'm saying? That tender head right there. Hey. Well, you know, Nephet said in a slightly irritated manner, well, although she loved the way the braids looked, she hated the long process of getting them done. Ooh. Ooh. Hey, I'm telling you, this right here, this conversation right here on 32 ain't no joke, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's that sorry, Sinet in Muti, sister of my mother, auntie, but I would like to know about my Ita. And just like that, the room became very silent for a few seconds. After a moment, Nephet said, on second thought, why don't I go and let you talk? Nephet spoken about as much as she loved Heru, she wasn't trying to be there when Osir broke the news. And when she tried to get up and leave, Osir tightened the grip on the braid in the head, and Nephet knew she better not move. What is it you wanted to know, Heru? And I wanted to ask you a particular age on purpose, or was this happenstance right here?
Say that again now.
This particular age of 14 in regards to this inquisitive nature of Heru.
Well, I say, you know, that was you know, there's a little bit more to it, but you know, put a pin in it.
I mean, you know, that conversation, you know, going back and reviewing the particular, you know, the chapter, looking for specificity. You know, you could go a lot of different places with it.
Mm.
But this conversation on page 32, you know, kind of sets the stage for you know, a lot of things that took place. You see what I'm saying? And the description is again very visual, yeah, in regards to uh, you can see this conversation happening, and this is something that, you know, we will see within in our society. You know, especially if you grew up with sisters or anything like that, you will see that. You know what I mean? And that process right there is something um, that we will see. You know, the key thing that I emphasized, and you know, with that, you know, inability to submit to the process. You see what I'm saying? You know, in psychology, they call it the inability to delay gratification. You see what I'm saying? Which was pointed out in this process. Like, you want something, you know what it's going to look like, or you know where it's going to be when you're done. But this process, you know, submitting to that process, you know, and even something that is shown as an adornment, you know, you know, it's going to, you know, it's going to have a benefit for you. But, you know, that inability to submit to the process is something like, so to the point where nothing else matters other than just trying to get it over with and done with. You see what I'm saying? Like, you know, so, you know, I'm just looking at that in regards to relationships, you know, particularly in regards to the confines of submitting to the process of our culture and getting back in realignment. We know that we're going to go through a transformation process, and you know, in this transformation process is going to be a process where which we're going to, you know, have to submit to the process. Now, how in the manner in which you submit to the process also depends on your results, right? Just as it's stated here with something simple as the braiding of the hair. So, you know, I'm just, you know, it's just something that, you know, stuck out to me. I wanted to share that, you know, with you about. So hopefully, did anybody find any similar instances, or did anybody have anything they wanted to say about what I just spoke about on page 32?
Well, I want to ask this question to the author, brother Aunt Banu. As we see in Haru becoming age 14, what is the relevance in the number 14, or of the number 14? Basically, him coming to a place or coming to the doorway where he's basically going to get his manhood on, where he's going to have to ask some hard and complicated questions. But these are things that I guess we have to be mature about. But is there a correlation in, you know, his father being chopped up in 14 pieces, and also, you know, that the age 14? Is there any at all?
I say no. You know, the at least in writing it, I didn't necessarily intentionally draw a correlation between him being 14 years old and his father being chopped up into 14 pieces. Okay, you know, generally speaking, the 14, right? This is like you know, the age traditionally where, you know, many societies would, you know, bring message. You know, he's been father. He's, you know, he's been raised by his aunt. Okay, up until this point. You understand? And, you know, his older brother, Pooh. So, point where, okay, he's growing up, he's becoming a man, you know, he's got all this stuff going on, and now he's, you know, he's starting to wonder, okay, something that, you know, when you look back, you know, it talks about him observing the other, right, and their interaction with their father and whatnot. So, you know, he's having that longing for, you know, for that type of interaction, that experience. So, you know, he's at a point now where he's thinking and asking questions as far as you know us. Okay. And he's ready to come into that knowledge. And that's something that takes place during the initiation of the rites of passage that he, you know, that he's getting ready to go through. So that's why the age 14, you know, because his coming into knowledge of his father is through the process of his initiation or his rites of passage.
Okay, and this might be a little side note. We might have already covered this, but could you bring a reference in, you know, 14 chopped up pieces, or if there is any certain reference in that number specifically?
Just to be clear, you're asking about the 14 pieces of Osir just in isolation from the age of Heru. That's what you're asking.
To you kind of chopped out a little bit. I don't know if I'm coming in, but yeah, just basically just a side note, just talking about you know, the representation of 14 and the pieces of Osir, if there is any inside him being, you know, cut up in those 14 pieces.
You know, I say in some instances, there's, you know, each one of the pieces, there's a Neter that it corresponds to. There's a temple, you know, location, locale, if you will, that it corresponds to. This is something that you still find the significance or the same breakdown, if you will. You find it in the tradition, such as the Dogon tradition, where, you know, the equivalent of Osir in that particular tradition, he's dismembered, and in each part of you know, where his body is scattered, it corresponds to a particular, you know, particular group or social group. There's a particular occupation. There's a temple enshrining deity and all of that, an ancestor. That, you know, each one of those members, if you will, corresponds to. In celestial speaking, okay, you know, in the cosmological sense, you know, the 14 pieces are associated with the moon. Okay, and you know, how the different phases of the moon kind of symbolically represented like the chopping away at the moon, and in this particular instance, Osir being associated with the moon, you know, 14 to 15 days that it takes for the moon to grow and become full, and then, you know, it goes through another you know, 14 days or so where, you know, it's being, okay, seen as though, okay, this moon in its fullness is now being cut away at. So that's you know, another significance of that particular number. But, you know, it's not always 14 when you read through the various cosmologies and traditions. The number isn't always 14.
Chill. Good to know.
Okay, yes, sir.
So what would be the different numbers then that you would find?
Okay, you find, you know, numbers from, you know, 13 or 14. You find 22, 28. I'm pretty sure each instance has a specific correlation in the cosmology, but the most popular one, and you know, 14, you know, specifically is, you know, correlated to the association of Osir with the moon, because this is, you know, it's a spiritual calendar. The ritual calendar, ancient Kemet was a lunar calendar primarily.
Right.
So a lot of rituals, and each one of the Neteru feast and festival day that is in alignment with the lunar cycle. So
I actually kind of piggybacking off of that scene, like because that it was significant or it stood out to me as well. um I even had to go back and look at um his age, because uh not too long after uh his sitting down with his mother, he begins initiation with Tahuti, and he he sits down with his father uh in the duat. And that scene, the age became a factor when I was looking at it. And you know it's describing Heru on let's see what page is this. This is on page 48, 48 through 49. 40, actually on 49, about uh maybe 8 lines down from the top. And he's fighting back the urge to cry as he's before his father. He's seeing his father for the first time in the duat, and just um that uh him already feeling and acting um as a man at 14. um so it was, yeah, it was a stark contrast to today, where in Western culture, for all intents and purposes, you were grown at 18. um and so it's kind of yes, it's a contrast with this and what I would imagine most traditional settings, traditional societies. I did have a question about the um, rites of passage versus the initiation process. Like, kind of wanting to get at the, um, I guess the not so much the differences, but how they were measured, how they were marked, um, and like how was, I don't know, how can you go a little bit into like how it was determined that an individual began initiation? Was it always at the conclusion of all the rites of passages, or like how did it look?
Okay, we're talking specifically in Kemet, or you speaking, like what you're asking in particular? You want to know about the rites of passage or initiation procedure in Kemet specifically?
I'm asking about Kemet specifically.
Okay, right. So when we're talking about the, your initial question was rites of passage versus initiation. It needs to be understood that a rites of passage is an initiation, and initiation is a rites of passage. However, let's say a rites of passage into manhood is not necessarily passage into a particular priesthood. In the case of Nile Valley culture, in the case of the Kemetic tradition, every child, when they come of age, especially the firstborn, they are automatically they inherit the office of their or expected to inherit the office and occupation of their father or their predecessor, father or mother. And and also they are expected to assume the office of Hamka okay, which is the servant of the Ka, or ancestor priest of their their predecessor. Okay, so part of the reason why, in the story, his first rites of passage, his first initiation involves him with the Ka of his father, Osir. Okay, and he's trained in how to perform these rituals, and they go through the opening of the mouth and all these different things. So that's the significance of that. His first rites of passage is also dealing with his entering into the priesthood of his servant of his ancestors, right? As far as initiation and priesthood go in ancient Kemet, it's not a where every single person in the civilization or nation was an initiate or a priest or priestess or anything like that. There was a process where people get initiated, and it's kind of similar today, even when you you look at the various ATRs. Everybody might have let's say everybody practices the tradition generally. You have general practitioners, and then you have folk that are called to be initiated or called to be a priest or a priestess, either an encounter with the forces or with the ancestors, that are there to be initiated, into that particular priesthood. That encounter can happen, several ways. Okay. It can happen, through some type of spiritual experience, whether it's a vision or dream, or some type of encounter where they're seeing some type of omens, just in their day, or the force can actually seize them, actually take possession of them, and depending on how hard-headed the person is or not, that seizure could bring on some type of experience of being ill or anything like that, and through divination or communication, a priest would actually engage and communicate with the force, and that force would reveal that this individual is supposed to be initiated into, So this is there's a few examples of that. There's an example where this particular parent, a mother was seeking divination, the priest, and the question that was asked is, why is Heru in my son? Okay, like why has Heru possessed my son? So what does he want? And we don't have the answer. Heru had taken possession of her son, but there's several examples, several accounts of the forces coming at to be initiated into their priesthood, and and is the end result of that. Besides that, again, divination, may prescribe that this person becomes initiated, and then the other way is, certain individuals, everybody that's, let's say, if you're the child of a priest, okay, son or daughter of a priest, you are expected to take up the office of your father or mother, when they transition and become ancestors. That you may have been tracked from youth. Look to see if, okay, this individual is showing certain nations to being studious and having certain intellectual capabilities. They pay attention to you like as you go through your studies and whatnot, to see whether or not you you are someone that is viable to be initiated into the priesthood. So it's not a as far as like as a priest, that's not a that's not necessarily a universal thing where everybody gets initiated as a priest, but this you know, your birthing ceremonies, which is a part of the rites of passage, you know, which is initiation. You're initiated into the grand initiation, which is life. You're put in, you know, you're born into this world, and then there's a particular ritual and ceremony that is performed, you know, based on your birth. There's a naming ceremony, you know, and then as you go through adolescence, there's a rites of passage when you enter into puberty, you know, circumcision and all of that. You know, all of those things are present in Kemet, but you know, still, it's not necessarily automatic you know, initiation into a priesthood. Okay, so there's coming of age rites of passages, and then there's the rites of passages that are also, you know, say besides the you know, being initiated or office of the servant of your ancestors. Okay, it's not automatically a initiation into the priesthood of a particular Neter or anything like that.
Brother, Uncle, I wanted to ask a question because you said something as I was wondering if this question that I was gonna ask was retarded or not. But when you said the ultimate rites of passage was basically coming into life, and when I just looked at 14-day cycles as you talked about the moon. And I couldn't help but the first thing that kind of came up was, ovulation. And, talking about, I guess, the woman's period and, I guess, the production of seeds and things of that nature. Does that tie in, or is that tying in what our ancestors saw as being, important to life and to being? Is this part of what we're seeing here to be understood?
You know, it's let's just put it this way. There is a correlation between Osir, Osset and Heru, and human reproduction. Osset, is associated with the mother and the egg and whatnot, and Osir is associated with the father and the seed. So, beyond that, it's a little bit too I say it's a little bit more involved than we want to deal with tonight. But yeah, there is an association with with Osir and the seed. And reproduction, and a lot of the rites of passages, the initiations, they deal with the primal forces of life and reproduction, and whatnot. Okay, the types of the acts and the functions of nature that make life possible.
To you.
Did anybody have anything that they wanted to add or any additional questions?
To you, I actually have another question. Just looking at my notes. Looking at the scene that you brought forward is connected to the scene that I wanted to highlight, and that they're really human, for lack of a better word. They highlight the emotional responses that are part of human expression. And okay, it's on page 49. Up at the top of the page. What were you saying?
I was gonna go there. I was gonna go there, but I was just gonna start on 48. So I wait.
Look at that. Look at that. Okay. Well, uh, something that stood out to me was, okay, this is Heru's first time uh getting to see his father. And it's Osir's first time getting to see his son. No, something that stood out was Osir's reaction um, at seeing Heru for the first time in the duat. And I wanted to ask everybody on the line, what does this say about the ancestors' interactions with the living while they are living? Or while the living are living, rather. Because it's I don't know, it stood out because for one, for me, just knowing that most folk don't interact with their ancestors, and the ancestors are still, doing their thing while in the duat. So I don't know. I wanted to anybody else have to say about that.
To you, because I actually had a question. This is Amina. Mine was on page 47 when it started talking about how the kayak and the Ren and how important it is of the upkeep. And with that, isn't any correlations with because we are, we are our ancestors, the makeup for us, like our mother, we carry the maternal, and then our father, we're seed. And it was just going on and explaining how the upkeep and all of your, it holds the most shekem, the familiarness of, how can I word it? I know it's very important to, and they also express it from 46, 47, how important it is that they're still working, they're still living, and it's important to give and do the rituals and give the offerings and acknowledge them and call their names, because like you said, they are still putting in the work with you.
To you. In this particular part of the text, and I was writing it, and speaking to this particular experience, it was kind of to give a real experience as far as like what a initiation ritual looks like. There's a period of time that you spend, and then it's just you and the ancestors. So just you, in the Netaru, and you spend this time in the shrine. Okay, and you might be in there for a couple of days, and you're in there, you are interacting with these forces, while you're awake, while you're asleep, and there's information that you are receiving. When you come out of there, you're not the same. Okay, your eyes, the experience, the interaction with the ancestors. Like this is something that is very real. It doesn't take much time after you actually get into, and you get in for real, and you go in with the actual practices, the invocations, and the rituals. Once you gain these experiences, it becomes very, very real, and you do have experiences where you might hear the ancestors, or you might see the ancestors. The ancestors may come to you in a vision, they may come to you in a dream, and they are able to, you're able to interact with them and converse with them just like you would with anyone else that is still right here, flesh and blood. So I wanted to highlight that, because like I said, the purpose of my rendering of this tradition in that way was to very, very, very relatable. Okay, this is going back to what Ball said, in the way that it's detailed, you can tell that you're dealing with black folk. So the interaction between Osir and Nebuchadnezzar, she getting her hair braided, she's sitting there, tender-headed and whatnot, and try not to cry, and way Osir grips that hair like you better sit still. I wanted it, it's like you're looking at your mother and your aunt. Or those older older women and matriarchs in your family, that type of relevance and relatability. I wanted to make sure that it was in there, and everything. In the previous session, it was asked, how did I construct this particular narrative? I drew from several sources because the tradition is all over the place in various different texts and papyruses and things of that nature. So I pulled from various different places, but I also I made it relevant, interweaving the cosmologies to different things that are happening today, as well as experiences. The words of Tahuti, being the words of the actual sages or the wise men. Okay, the initiation experiences that you see depicted in the book, these are actual initiation experiences. Okay, so that's the whole thing in a nutshell. So that interaction and communication with the ancestors, that's a part of that experience.
Marie, was it good? You or Mina, y'all had anything else that y'all wanted to ask, or is there anything else anybody else wanted to add?
He kind of, wrapped it all up.
You dropped the mic on him.
He kind of keep the mic.
So then I wanted to go.
I actually I had a question about this is for Panu, like kind of looking at the historical records. How did the ancestors make themselves known in Kemet?
Okay. So they made themselves known pretty much in the same way or manner that I spoke to before in reference to how someone would be called into the priesthood, right? They become aware that they're to be initiated, the same way that, like I said, the Neteru would make themselves known by coming through, some type of vision or dream or experience, or you see what our ancestors refer to as the Baru. Okay, Baru, a word that means like the power or presence of a force of nature, or the presence of a person known through omens, through signs. Okay, so it's the same thing with the ancestors. Using different omens and things of that nature, they make themselves known. They appear in visions, appear in dreams, and in other instances, if the person is very hard-headed, they may actually seize them, possess them. Divination is another way in which they could, make themselves known. And then I say worst case scenario, if they're being neglected or ignored, then they begin to mess some things up for you. And then when you go to figure out why things are not going your way, you find out that, okay, your ancestors are not pleased with you. Okay, but the interaction with the ancestors in Kemet, that was the general practice of the overall population. So when we talk about, you heard me say, not everyone was a priest or priestess, as it pertained to the Neteru, but everyone was expected to maintain the shrines of their ancestors. Everyone was the priest of their ancestors. Okay, everyone was a Hamka. Okay, so the keeping of your ancestors' shrine, making sure that they have what they need or what they want, making sure that they all of the festival observances they are good. Okay, this is what our ancestors in Kemet they really focus on more than anything. They venerated their ancestors. And, one of the most common practices was, they would write letters to their ancestors in bowls. Okay, so there was a practice of them making bowls, okay, and then writing to their ancestors inside the bowl, and then placing the offering in the bowl, and then the bowl ultimately on the shrine or the altar. So, in these letters, when you read them, they're very personal nature, very detailed. Like, yo, you see your son is over here acting a fool. You better tell him something. You better get him right. Those types of letters, they just like have a family dispute, and you go to your elder or to your mother, your father, for them to work it out for you. This is the same tone of a lot of these letters, like they will go to their ancestors, okay, and write a letter to them, let them know what's going on. They put, they say, yo, I've been taking care of you. You've been eating good. I kept up my end of the bargain. Your son or your daughter or your brother, or if the person isn't related, they say, yo, this person over here threatened us, or they are ruining a reputation, etc. So on. Needs you to deal with them, handle that. Like the letters that they wrote to their ancestors were very, very focused, very, very detailed, and very, very you will, in the terms of their interaction with them. You see that it's almost like it's a business agreement, but it's also personal. It's like, yo, this is your people, but this relationship between the ancestors and the living, okay, is contractual, is reciprocal. I take care of you. I take care of your car. Make sure that your car is fed, and in turn, you take care of us and you handle business for us in the spiritual realm. And that's that's one of the most common practices that you found the people in Kemet participated in. Interacting with their ancestors through writing letters, and then the ancestor would be expected to get in and make things better.
Banu.
Yes, sir.
Yo.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I just in the conversation that you talking about ancestors making things better, and what we know as DNA. Can those or are those forces able to become activated within yourself as it relates to what we are just speaking about?
Okay, I see. Good question. I want to make this clear. I want this to be clear, right? Because say we are our own ancestors, and it's true, right? We are our own ancestors. You hear people say that the Neteru are, faculties of our being, or faculties of our spirits, or faculties of our minds, etc., so on. And this is true. you know, and they say that the ancestors live within us, and the ancestors, you know, our DNA, etc. So on. All this stuff is true. However, it would be a big mistake to reduce it to that. You know, in many instances, when we get into this reductionist type of way of viewing things, you know, we do so the westernized mind. So in fear of saying that, okay, or being called spooky, or you know, some foolishness like that, right? We try to reduce it and say, well, this is all we're talking about, or all this simply means, and well, all this is saying, and no, it's not that simple. Like, yeah, these forces exist within you, okay, but you know, your ancestors had a name. It's not your name. You know, Ren, that's not your name. They have a Ka, that's not your Ka. They have a Ba, that's not your Ba. Okay. You know, all the various aspects that our ancestors broke down that make up the individual, ancestor has their own. So while there is, you know, a connection to them, it's very chemical that's in the blood, that is distilled, that exists within us, there is an aspect of their being, okay, that is necessarily with, you know, limited to our Ka, to our physical body. Okay, so when they say letters to their ancestors, okay, and they perform these rituals at their shrine, the Ka, okay, the shrine is called the Kari, okay, or the mouth of the shrine, or the mouth of the Ka, okay. The Ka is expected, you know, to actually inhabit, take up residence in the shrine. And when they perform heka or rituals at the shrine to in the Ka, or to cause the Ka to be yaku, effective, okay, they expect the Ka of that ancestor to get busy for them. And it's not simply talking about from their DNA or from their person or anything like that. You know, these are forces, you know, when you read the Pertim Hira, okay, there's several chapters that deal with you know, equipping the ancestors with the knowledge and, you know, of ritual invocation that will allow them to assume any form that they choose. You know, transforming into a hawk, transforming into a crocodile, transforming into this, transforming into that. Like, it allows them to be able to act through anything that they choose to act through. Okay, so you know, when we, you know, let's say, you know, in an African tradition, in the African ritual, right? Okay, in the same way, right, that let's say Heru would, you know, I mentioned the letter when the lady, you know, the mother asked, why is Heru in my son? Heru was a part of, you know, it's part of everybody. It's part of, you know, this force nature existing in everybody. But the Ka, right? The, you know, why is Heru in my son? Right? The same way that mother asked that, you know, a medium possess anybody's ancestors. A skilled medium can possess anybody's ancestors. They don't have to necessarily be related. Okay? They don't necessarily have to share DNA or anything like that. You know what I mean? So there's parts of the individual that extend beyond. Okay? So when we talk about the ancestors, we're not just talking about our DNA. Okay? So, you know, to make that clear, yeah, there's things that you can, you know, aspects of you, information that you contain within you from your ancestors that you inherited that can be activated, talents and things of that nature that can be activated, etc. and so on. But then there's things that also information and abilities that you can, you know, get from your ancestors through ritual, and then there's things that your ancestors can do for you without necessarily doing it through you.
To you. Wow.
Two. Yes, sir.
All right, anybody else have any additional questions? I'm feeling all this questionosity that's going on right now. Just for the record, I just want everybody to know all this questionosity that's going on over here. You know what I mean?
I wanted to kind of go to 35, page 35, and kind of probe where we're talking about the blindfold. Where's the blindfold? Okay, where it says that yet you cannot say that you know these things to be true. Believe what you've been told, what you've been taught. You have been led, for you walk in darkness. This is the meaning of the blindfold. This is the part I was talking about. This is the meaning of the blindfold of your journey in darkness. Yet though there's darkness all around you, and you are unable to see, you must find the light within the darkness. You must find the light within. That right there, and I guess the importance of embarking upon initiation, and as we are going to further, as we go more in the chapter, we understand, I guess, going away from the physical or dependency, and this is how I'm observing it, and like I of course, getting everybody else's take on it, but going away from the physical parameters into what I'm being able to observe is somewhat the meditative state, the away from your physical state, rather than your physical desires, your physical cravings, your physical yearnings, your fears, the things that you are trained upon physically. This is the embarking upon learning how to train your inner self, which that is the self without the physical, or that is absent of. And like I said, I just wanted to kind of probe the importance as we're talking about the blindfold here. And again, I'm sure we are still observing initiation as well, but this aspect of the paragraph.
Yo, Equanime, say the last part again about initiation.
No, I was just saying, even in the blindfold part, I think, I don't know if it's in. Well, I think in masonry they've done it. Maybe in other traditions and esoteric cultures and secret societies or groups or brotherhoods and sisterhoods and all that. I think I've seen that before, where certain entry level people that are coming into initiation, they have and wear the blindfold. As it relates to trusting, sometimes you see where the kids do it, where they may fall back and they got their friends behind them, and they are to basically trust, I guess, the group of friends or a friend that is behind them. And it's basically this you're learning to trust or learning to depend on something that, quote unquote, you don't really see. And so or how is that relative tying in? I'm pretty sure it all is. And like I said, just opening up that question conversation.
Okay, too. Yeah, it's all there's, let's say there's an element of all of those things involved. When we talk about blindfolding in particular, in many, like I say, many traditions, initiation ceremonies and whatnot. I spoke to the part, where, there's a period of time where you are isolated and it's just you and the shrine. It's you and your ancestors, you and the Neter, right? And you spend certain period of time in darkness, in complete darkness. You might be blindfolded. Your ears and whatnot might be plugged up, whatever the case may be. Your senses cut off, I should say. But in the process of inhibiting the physical eyes and ears, it's leading you to to learn how to see and hear with the inner eyes and ears. So this this experience, right? This experience, is one where and it's a little difficult to really articulate it, if you haven't experienced anything like it. But that is a very real thing, what we're saying here. What I'm trying to say. It's a very real part of the experience, and in that particular process, you do see things, you do hear things, you do feel things, and these things, I see that line between real and not real, spiritual and physical, except so those lines disappear when you go through this experience. So you're blindfolded in many of these rituals, many of these initiations. You're blindfolded, and there's a science to it as well. There's some biochemical science to it as well. The effects that being in darkness has on your on your brain, and what it the chemicals that it causes your brain to begin to produce. Which ultimately lead to and assist in having these inner experiences. So that's what that is right there.
Can I add to that a little bit?
Yes, sir.
There's a process that we become dependent upon our eyes to see, so we only actualize now based on these lower senses, what we can see, what we can taste, what we can feel. We actualize our experiences based off of those limited interfaces. You see what I'm saying? And there's more to it. However, we can get relegated to our particular experience just based off of those couple of senses that we had. You see what I'm saying? So in preparation for initiation, is taking you out of the fold of what you are most comfortable with. What you can see, most importantly, what you can see, because sometimes your eyes can be something that blinds you instead of giving you sight. You see what I'm saying? So with that process, with those faculties being removed, you're seeing and what you hear. You see what I'm saying? Because again, if we're looking at communication, it's not always what's being said. It's sometimes it's what's not being said. So if we block out certain types of things, we're able to experience more, get more from based off of the removal of these things that we might see. Because you might have a prejudice, you might have a bias in regards to what you see. Like you hear an expression, you say, well, you see what you want to see, or you hear what you want to hear. You see what I'm saying? And these things are true. These things are true because we can train our sight to only see certain things. We can train our hearing to only listen for key words and then respond, and miss out on the whole entire experience based on that limited scope of view that we have specialized. So at the expense of the entire experience, we can hone in on certain instances to say, well, I heard you say, boom, boom, boom. Well, I saw, boom, 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 and go with that. You see what I'm saying? So this initiation is an experience that is holistic, and mainly initiation is for your mind. You see what I'm saying? We don't see mind though, but we're looking at this initiatory process of a preparation for what is to come after. So just like we were looking at this experience about that braiding hair, and we wanted to know about his Itah, there was a situation where which Nephet was like, I don't need to be around for this. You see what I'm saying? And Osir is like, oh yes, you do. You see? So you can look at it based off of the information that you know and infer. And inferring, you might deduce from the situation and come up with one perspective. But if you just like that experience that Uncle Benu described, he wanted to set that visual that you can see, even though with your physical eyes you can't see. And with your ears, you can hear, that in the hearing that he was speaking of, even though you're not there, you can hear the conversation because, you can bring it closer and closer and more relative towards your experience. You see what I'm saying? So, this blindfolding process, is truly to get you to trust yourself. You see what I'm saying? More so than the things that are around you, to get more in tune with yourself because you're not focused on what you see and what you hear. You see what I'm saying? You're being guided throughout an initiatory process of self. So being in tune with self is, being in tune with those forces that govern your life. So now you get a chance to be in tune with them. So now you don't have the distractors, in this case, of your eyes, of your ears. You see what I'm saying? Of your own bias, of your own, stuff that you bring to a situation that may help you, in your usual situation, but not in the situations that are near and dear. This is a sacred experience. You know what I mean? So if we were looking at, page 47 and 48 and 49, making reference to all of that preparation that went. Now, when you see that process that went into, what happened to everybody around Heru before he met his father, you see, for the first time. You see, Osir appeared to everybody and gave them specific instructions, that they had to carry out in order for this process to go how it was supposed to go. And the only thing Heru was told was just, hey, come here. You see what I'm saying? Come to this tomb. But if you look at everything else that was going, you see that they sacrificed, goat, there was bulls that was sacrificed right there. You see what I'm saying? There was a bunch of things. There were offerings that were made. And this whole process, that is detailed to say that it took 70 days. You see what I'm saying? So now if we look at that, a 70-day process just for interaction to take place. And then you see how impatient you can be with just getting your hair braided. You see what I'm saying? Like, so now imagine somebody got to tell you, like, this process got to be 70 days. You see what I'm saying? Or, you see this time that's in isolation. You see what I'm saying? This isolation time that you did in preparation for what happened. So now you see from these experiences, Heru was not led by any bias. He was prepared, and everything around him was prepared for this interaction, so he could receive his destiny. You see what I'm saying? He had to receive his destiny in a certain kind of manner. Imagine how clearer it would be for us in regards to our Shai if we took that time, that preparation time, and all of that time went into that focus went into, okay, we're being prepared to receive our Shai. Prepare for that process. And even in that process, there's still evidence, like Marie was bringing out, of the human element that exists. You see, he was standing in front of his father, and he was trying to hold his emotions back because this is a day that he long saw. You see what I'm saying? And him supposed to being a man, he figures that a man is supposed to be a certain kind of way, but he didn't really have an example of what that is. So how many dismembered brothers are walking around, assimilating on characteristics, thinking, okay, this is how I'm supposed to be as a man, and never having that example, never having that interface, never having that experience. They can only relegate that manhood experience to what they see and what they hear. You see what I'm saying? So now, like look at this, all of this process that was made in careful consideration that went about this whole process in order for this process to take place. You see what I'm saying? So I just wanted to add that working with children and working with young adults and older men over the time, you always get that process. You see what I'm saying? You get that process with working with men that didn't have a rites of passage. They didn't have it, so you got to give it to them in their youth, in their manhood, and in their old age. You see what I'm saying? So it's indiscriminate to your physical degree on the planet. Oftentimes it comes as a process when they're ready for the process. You see what I'm saying? So again, back to the age, he reached an age to where these things were looming in him throughout the course of his life, but he wasn't ready to ask that question nor to receive the answer until he presented himself in that fashion. You see?
To you, I have a question regarding that because he was mentioning about the to piggyback off of that. On page 28, can you go a little bit into the 7 heteru? Did that have anything to do with the census? What was the 7? Can you go into detail about the 7 heteru?
To you, okay, yeah. Y'all asking them questions tonight.
You.
Okay, so the seven heteru, right? Traditionally they were a particular form of divination that informed our ancestors into the destiny of that child. So, this is all a part of like the birthing ceremony, the naming ceremony, and the child is receiving the information pertaining to his destiny all at the same time. So the 7 heteru, what they are, this is astrological. Some people, call them the seven sisters, the 7, different cultures have different names for them. It's the constellation of what's called, Pleiades. It's a part of the constellation of Taurus. Okay. Now, 7 stars that are part of the greater constellation of Taurus. Is what I'm saying. And on another level, it also extends to the 7 original planets that our ancestors dealt with, okay, when we start talking about astrology and things of that nature. But that's the significance of the 7 heteru. So them, the destiny of the child at birth, okay, based upon the alignment of the stars, you got mesh connect there and things of that nature. There's a lot of deep symbolism there. Deals with the where the child was born or the place of birth. 7 heteru, the way that they are aligned. This goes on to inform the individual as to the actual destiny or life of the child. So that's what that's dealing with.
Wow.
2.
Thank you for asking that because I had that same question.
I had it here. I had it.
Okay, I'd say I don't know if Born is there. See, we got some. Let's see if we have any questions from the YouTube chat though. Questions from YouTube. Okay, I see. Don't look like there's any questions in the YouTube, But while we're waiting for Born to come back through, does anybody else in the panel have any questions? Any research questions that they like to pose, or questions in general?
To you, I did. It's not necessarily a research question. Let me go back to find it, but it was on page 72. It was just something that I found possibly worth noting. That here we go. Hey, Rue, he was giving a speech. I think is when they were doing a ritual in Nubia before the battle, towards the end. And so anyway, he said, I'm skipping part of it, but he says, but for those of you who give your life today for our freedom, I swear to you that your shrine will be taken care of, your cow will be fed, you will traverse the Duat freely as one in command of themselves and well equipped with Hikau. And when you rise again in the east as Kepri, you will find the Kemet of our mothers and fathers waiting here for you. And what I found just in that little excerpt there was, one, the idea of death to the Kemet to you. It's a transition for one, and they see that you will return, or they, you know what I mean? It's not like the end of the world. The world doesn't stop when you die, and I thought that was something that was pretty interesting there. As well, it's important for someone to keep your shrine once you do make that transition, and I don't know. I just take that as a little bit of accountability on myself from even, me myself. I know I need to get on my ancestor shrine. And I have something else wrote down here too, like, what I'm saying? Well, I guess it kind of all plays a part there, but your cog will be fed. I need to get on that for me. But just ultimately, I mean, kind of getting the idea of how the Kemetu view death versus today. People will definitely see it differently. And so even myself, I think I need to do a better job in taking that into consideration, at least me personally.
That's a universal joint, for everybody. That's we hear with the reminder, So we got this evidence, we want to know how we put ourselves back together, how we reconnect. So, you see that, and it's in that work right there. Who was that was talking? What's your name? What's your name, sir?
Irief. And got me on the spot, man. I told you I can only do it when I'm still working on it. Irief. Ketu.
You better come with it. What you doing?
Come with it, right?
Okay.
He knew what he was doing, though, man. Hey, I
practice make perfect.
Gotta learn to say it right.
He jumped in there real quick. I was like, wait a minute. That voice sound familiar,
This guy.
Voice sound come with it.
Don't feel bad, Sin. I'm with you.
Shout out to my brother.
No, she ain't Sin. I say she got an easy name. She ain't with you. That's just trying to make you feel better.
I used to speak a little Spanish, you know what I'm saying? I took Spanish calls in my old job, and I'm like, Yo, this right here got me stumped a little bit compared to just what I'm used to. So, you know, it's a little work in progress, but
That's the
Yes, sir.
necessary for that reconnection right there. You see what I'm saying? That other stuff should be fun. You know, that other stuff
you,
should be fun. I mean, that's evidence. You know, for you it's a name. For somebody else, it might be something way harder than that. You see what I'm saying? It might be a total dismissal. You know what I mean? It might be a complete and total dismissal. Like, nah, I don't know nothing about this. You see what I'm saying? Like sometimes it hits you in the heart where you like, man, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I'm just struggling with my name. Like, they ain't got nothing. They ain't got a name. See what I'm saying? They ain't got no identity. They dealing with the identity crisis. You see what I'm saying? On the other hand, they running around with feathers in their head and all kind of stuff. You understand what I'm saying? Like, so you getting it. You know, you getting it, and it's proof that you're getting it because you know there's an identification. There's something that's being called to you. You see what I'm saying? Like, you know, so it's just like all of this prep that we were just speaking about in regards to this process. You see what I'm saying? You know, this preparation for your best self. You know, and we are our best self when we connect it. You see what I'm saying? All together. So, you know, like we do in this class, this process. You see, so to be able to come into a situation where we can learn from one another, and you know, we got the ability to have this great writing as to serve as a guide. You see what I'm saying? Us, you know, essentially coming together and redeeming this culture because it's been very misunderstood for a very long time. So, you know, it's not just us coming together, you know, reading the book. You know, we are reestablishing a culture in its proper form. So, just want to, you know, add my little half a cent up in that joint. You know what I mean?
wow, so to you.
To you.
All right, so we got a few minutes left. You know what I'm saying? I got to keep to my schedule. You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to see if anybody had any final thoughts. And, you know, before we get to the final thoughts, have we satisfied everybody's expectation, need, questions in regards to chapter 2? Can we move on to chapter 3? I just need to get that consensus from everybody. If we good, or do we need to spend an additional week on chapter 2?
Man, I week on chapter 2, coming from my angle, because like I say, I don't think we really, you know, skim. I think it is, you know, it's a lot of stuff that you can pull out. So I definitely am one for you know, going forward with analyzing chapter 2 and, you know, beyond. But if everybody is ready to move, I'm not gonna, because I'm like, you know, we were still on, you know, coming from 35. I know I said some things from 35, and I had some more things to speak about as well. So maybe one more week.
I say Equanif done put his bid in for another week in chapter 2. Where y'all at with it?
Yeah, I'm with it.
That sound like Equanif's Hamat right there. I don't know if you. Of course you with it. You don't agree with him.
Stand by your man. Stand by your man.
What?
You know what I'm saying? Stand by your man.
For me now, I'm all for it. I'm all for it.
Okay, Amina with it too. So that's 3 right there. I say, you know, there is a lot in the story. So, you know, I'm definitely with it if everybody else is game. You know, whatever you guys want to do, that's what we're gonna do.
Rehema, what say you, Rehema? And what's the other brother name? What's your name, brother?
He don't know his name. I tell you who he is. Irief in the Ketu Ir, man. Irief in the Ketu Ir.
What say you? Say Irief. Say Irief. What say you?
I'm not opposed to either or, but You know, I'll just go ahead and go with everybody else. We'll go ahead and go back to chapter 2 for sure.
All right. What about the twin pillars?
Marie, Warwick, what y'all want to do? Y'all want to go forward or stay in chapter 2?
I have.
Can we combine them?
She said Marie said combine them, but I have no qualms. I would
Because chapter 3 is real short.
yeah, because chapter 3 real short. So she wants to combine, I guess, wants to finish the chapter out. I'm good either way. What you think?
Okay, I say Rehema also says chapter 2. Okay.
Okay,
And,
so I prepare. I prepare for chapter 3.
I'm be your surrogate and just take a sip.
so there's in the joint, Rehema, she's asking on page 48 where Nebhet is preparing Osir's tomb, and the part about sacrificing a bull or ka. Is this ritual the same treat? Okay, so the ritual that's being depicted in the story is called Wunru, okay, or opening the mouth. So this is the opening of the mouth ritual, which is the primary ritual that is used when that is performed when first creating the ancestor shrine, the ancestor spirit, etc., so on, right? So that's what that ritual is depicting, but we do offer, not at the Hinisu retreat. We're not doing a bull at the Hinisu retreat yet. I say yet, we ain't doing it yet, but we do offer a bull to the ancestors every year, though.
To you.
To you.
All right, so all of these chapter 2 loyalists now, I need for everybody to understand the timeline we're working with. You see what I'm saying? And if we're going to stay another week and prepare for chapter 3, that everybody would bring all of their points of interest or concern or questions till next week. And also be preparing in your mind. We probably won't even get to chapter 3 next week, but just know that chapter 3 is on the horizon. I have the research questions and things like that initial, from my vantage point for chapter 3 next week already out in time. So, just knowing that if we're going to stay, that we're going to stay, and we're going to be able to hit on whatever points that everybody wanted to hit on before we move forward. So, but we can move in. I prepare chapter 3 already. And anybody else that's ready to move forward, y'all can submit your questions as well. So. So, all right. So we go to these closing remarks from everybody. You know what I mean? I like this inquisitive nature, this questionology that was going on tonight. You know what I'm saying? Uncle Renew earned his paycheck tonight. With everybody. So, very very interesting process. So we could go with in order down the panel for everybody. Everybody get an opportunity to have y'all closing remarks at this time. You can start with Irief. Irief.
Do you know? I just enjoyed the session once again, man. I really don't have much to add in. I don't know additional questions. Blind to tear.
I don't know, Saint Rehema, if she could speak or not. Um,
Uh, do I don't have any other questions right now.
did you enjoy yourself?
I did enjoy myself. Do I?
That's what I'm talking about.
To you.
Marie the Turk.
Just sharing some final thoughts.
Yes, please.
Um, I don't have too much. Just willing that we could all be in the building and make the best use of our time next week. Just enjoying the build and this is something where it's already, community and family is already inherent in just our coming together. But then you add, a build on this classic work, and it's even more so. And it's something, for the listeners and for the folk who are viewing this after the fact or, right now. Yeah, just don't take it for granted what you're witnessing. This is a classic work, and it's not too often that you can get on YouTube and find some intelligent conversation. And I'm just gonna leave it like that.
Oh,
See you. Piggyback off Marie. This is Nina. I'm happy to be a part of this. Just sharing and getting this image. Tomorrow after, right after mine.
Hey, I want to say that this conversation is definitely very well needed because it does allow us to again, like we said in previous conversations, go to work and also engage in what the work is reflective of community, communal participation, the importance of engaging in organic African family values and erecting that. And I think that's what we're seeing here in chapter 2 is the level of coming into being, the importance of development. Just as a baby is being made. It kind of reminds me of the story of Ra coming from the primordial mound. I mean, coming as the primordial mound, rising from the waters anew. So, like that's what I see now. Haru is doing or is becoming upon him, and I think I know we all go through those stages in life. As the ones of the now carrying the torch of our lineage, of our relatives, of our ancestors. We are the ones that are here to speak for them, so that we do so in a mindful way. I think that's what we are learning here, and it's a great thing. So do I tell. And I'm with what Marie the Turk said that you can't hardly find much decent conversation. So this is some dope stuff. Here's the wife.
At that pool bot, I am piggybacking off of everybody else, and I think this is a great thing that is out here for anybody who is seeking true answers and wanting to go a little further. You have stumbled upon greatness, good knowledge, and just a good fam. So here's to continuing this.
All right, that's it.
Okay. I say, Dua Nater, Dua Abat, Dua Hinisu, Dua thanks and praises to all of you, to the ancestors, and to those of you tuning in. I salute you and your ancestors, and Dua for tuning in. Definitely, like I said, every week, the goal is to take things deeper, take them further. There's, I wrote this, right? But just because does not mean that I know everything that's been put into it. So, you know, um, the ancestors, use me as a conduit, as a vessel to, to bring this information forward. And, I'm thankful to them, thankful to the Netaru, and thankful to you all through this process of dialogue and analysis. We're going to see everything, or dig deeper at least to see more of the things that that are actually packed away and hidden, in the text. So, Dua Nater, I would have everyone definitely comes back next week, same time, same place to check it out as we go further. And check us out. You know what I mean? The book, if you don't have the book, definitely highly advise you to get the book if you are interested in the Kemetic spiritual tradition. Reach out. I advise that you reach out if you are interested in the Kemetic spiritual tradition. A lot of schools out there, and I guarantee you that once you get this particular text, it'll allow you to delineate and discern, between what's authentic and what's not. You'll have a criterion for knowing whether or not someone is really, really practicing this tradition or whether they playing with Kemet. So, that being said, definitely get the book. You can get it at www.heninsu.com. That's HENENSU.com. You can email me at heninsu@gmail.com. You can, contact me on Facebook, Uncle Nu, Instagram, Twitter. That's AANKHBENU. All of those mediums you can get at me. And I say, if you really, really want to, go with us into Kemet, physically, you can join us on the Cool Kim Kemet Tour 2018 coming up in July. Registration is already open to join us on this African pilgrimage. We're going to Kemet, you have the opportunity to also go into the Sudan. So that's Cool Kim Kemet Tour 2018. That information is also on henisu.com. You can contact me for more details as well. So that said, Dua Nater, and be well. Sinepti.
Yeah, for them folk that listening, man, get that book, man. Get that book, man. You know what I'm saying? You on that remembering Osir, you know what I mean? Get it together, man. www.henisu.com. Get that joint, man. So, asking everybody to share this joint around, get it around, get the word out to the family, you know what I mean? So we could all get reconnected. This is a opportunity that presents itself. So either we're gonna squander the opportunity or we're gonna move with it in a manner and purpose that's befitting, bringing out our best self. So we'll be back on next week, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, with this wonderful text, magnificent text. Remember, Osir, I can catch Uncle Nu this Saturday for our second session of One Time for Kemet, aka addressing these misconceptions in regards to Kemetic spirituality. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna go in. You know what I mean? So we're gonna work that until until it's understood. So, that's another opportunity to incorporate and see what's going on. So tell a friend that we're going in one time in a reclamation type of situation for recommit tradition. So coming out there, So with that, we're gonna say peace, love, black power, and we up out of this joint.